Hello and good evening. It's been a while since I've done a video log on what I've been doing with Steam and Steel, so I thought it's about time I sort of gave you all an update now that I've been working on something that's a bit more visual and less back-end. So, um, for anyone that's been following me on Twitter, you probably know that I've spent the last little while working on Schematica with Lunatrius. We were planning on using schematics for doing our ruins for Steam and Steel, but we had to make sure that it was going to be able to meet our needs. We were warned pretty early on when we thought we might use Schematica that it might not be suitable for anything that has chests and such, because those were stored on the server as opposed to the client. So I've been helping Lunatrius get the server-side saving going for Schematica. So that's what I've been doing for the last little while. Rorax, in a spare time from doing streaming and that, has been doing some more textures for us. And she's also worked on the factory for the steam spiders, which Kahira has been working on when she's free. So there's a lot of university and real life that's been happening with our team members a bit. Fedroyant Factotum, in between last video and this one, has been doing a lot of work on the multi-part stuff. The multi-block structures. So he recently posted a video about it, so I highly recommend you go check that out. And Scott has been working on another mod called Ancient Trees for Parcel 31's Material Energy 4 mod pack. Between that and real life, he's had to basically step down from lead developer of Steam and Steel so that he can focus on real life for a bit. And so I've taken over that responsibility for a bit. So I've spent a while sort of cleaning up our documentation a little bit and putting together a release plan for what stages we're going to release Steam and Steel at. So that's basically where the team has been at for the little while. We've also been talking a bit about Minecraft 1.8 between us and what it means for us. So at the moment, we're going to stick with 1.7 while we get this initial alpha out to you guys to sort of get a proof of concept, and then we'll see about probably moving off to 1.8 as part of that. But I'm not actually in Steam and Steel at the moment. I'm in another mod that I've been working on, which is sort of part of this whole ecosystem of Steam and Steel. This is a mod that I started a little while ago, and I call it Schematic Meta-Blocks. And it actually solves a specific problem that I found when I was doing the ruins for Steam and Steel, and it has to do with air. So I've built a few things around this world to sort of show off the particular issue and how Meta-Blocks solve it. And so I guess let's get started on how it works and what it is and that kind of stuff. Now you'll see I've built this little hovel, and it has an inside. Now, the issue that I had when I was sort of designing the whole schematic thing was when I loaded a schematic into the world, at the time, if I go outside, you can see a bit of an example of what I saw when I first saw this, is you built the schematic and it would carve chunks out of the world when you saved it in, because all of the air sort of persisted into the world, whereas what I really wanted was something more along the lines of what I've got over here. It was supposed to just participate in the world and actually do it. So I needed this concept between the interior air and the exterior air. So, and I wanted to do it in such a way that Rorax would be able to sort of do the ruin designs. So, so I made this. So this is the interior air marker, and its purpose is to basically mark the area of the inside of a building or ruins or anything along those lines with what is air and what is not. So, so you get these red markers to basically say this is air. This will be when you export this world, this particular schematic, that this is air that should be replaced with actual air, and as opposed to the air that you'll find on the outside, which if I go out here, you'll see has not been touched. So the air that's out here or sorry, better, the air that's out here should actually be not replaced in the world when you load the schematic in. It should participate in the normal terrain generation. So there's a couple of things to kind of note here, one of which is the fact that you will need a few of these around the place. Like it doesn't detect everything, so you will need to put a few of those in there. Now you'll notice that there's sort of these little gaps in here. This is intentional because it detects actual blocks. So even these doors in here, which actually take up more of this particular block than what you're seeing here, this is not considered air. This is door. So we need another one here as well. So that's kind of the idea is once you've built your design, you'll go through and you'll place down these things wherever you need to. And when you load the schematic in, you won't actually put these into the world. In fact, you wouldn't even have schematic multi-blocks as part of your mod pack. It's only really used as part of the saving and loading part of schematics. It just sort of adds extra information into the schematic that you can work with in order to actually provide what you need. So now I'm going to teleport over to another area. So let's go over to here, minus 341. All right. And so this is a little direwolf style building. Now I've left the door off, and that's kind of on purpose. Go away, Rain. And I just... Thank you, Rain. You made me realize that I didn't have any glass in this window here. Which, actually, let's leave that out because it serves a purpose exactly. So, let's say for an example that I was going to leave this door off intentionally, but let's put it on here and pretend that I've forgotten to put the glass up there instead. It serves exactly. So, what do you think will happen when I put this down? So I'll put this down here, and you'll see what's actually happening is it's basically checking all of the air that it can get to. It sort of just fills out and floods the area with this red block, which I call implicit air, because it's implied by the fact that this block is present, and it just sort of floods out. Now, as you can imagine, that's probably not what you want to flood this entire area. You'll get the same problem that we had last time with the things. So I'm going to just close this up, and what you should notice now is that it's now sort of flooding away. So that's exactly the behavior that I would actually expect with this. So now let's say, for example, that Direwolf or whoever wanted to actually expand this room. So if you go punching this out immediately, oh, I'm lucky I'm on a boundary. Here's another room that I prepared earlier. So this demo didn't quite go to plan at all. So yeah, here's another room. Now, what I was originally going to sort of show you was the idea that if I just punched this thing out, I was actually expecting it to basically flood into this room here. But because this thing only works with a single chunk at a time, so it's, if I turn on any eye, oh dear. Well, that right there is a thing. So if you accidentally knock blocks out, you will flood the world. Now, when that finishes calculating all the blocks up there, it should clean up after itself. Oh, there we go. Excellent. So, that was kind of what I was getting at, is the idea that if I knocked this block here, if I just punched a hole in this wall here, and I wasn't on a chunk boundary, then it would have flooded out into the world. And it does take a little while to calculate all the air. So, that's basically what it means. Ideally, you probably want to put these things down towards the end of your build. as opposed to... Right. As I said, sometimes it takes a little while. Yeah, so probably put the thing down towards the end of the build is what I was going to say. Alright, so this leads me on to my next question. So I'm going to teleport over to another area now. So this is an example of some ruins that I've been putting together. These aren't going to be the steam and steel ones, but they kind of serve my purpose pretty well. How did I end up in the wood? Whatever. Alright, so these ruins aren't actually in a void world, which is where I would normally do my designs for the ruins. But I do intend for them to actually have open ends. So, as you would have seen, if I just put that down there, it's going to flood the world. Like, I was pretty close to the edge of the chunk. But they're not. But I do want this to be air. So, you're not going to stick something like glass there or something, because players wouldn't be able to walk through it. So instead, I've created this block that I call explicit air. Okay, so these blocks can be completely passed in through the player. The little face was a request by Rorax. I'm not sure that I like it. I might change it. Now, so there's a few things that we might get with this. I'm not quite sure what the current behavior is going to be, but let's try sticking this down. And looks like we're still waiting for that to finish off. So just give that a moment. Wow, that's taken a while. You still working up here? You shouldn't be. Oh, right, there we go. Sorry, I just had to be more patient. Alright, cool. So, as you can see, I can completely pass through this. And it has gone and done over here. And this one here is a bit of an interesting thing. I actually designed it such that this falls exactly on a chunk boundary. So, because it sort of ends here, it doesn't flood out into the world. On the other hand, if I punch that block out, again, it's going to do silly things. So, alright, it's got a downstairs area. Now, you'll notice here that this area here doesn't actually fill. That's because of this block here. We've got another chunk boundary over here. That's... right, cool. So we've got a chunk boundary right here. And so because there's no air blocks leading down here, it doesn't actually fill this area down here. If I break this block here, it fills in most of the area down here. But as you can see, not all of it. There's still one air block down here. This air block is because of the torch. If you break the torch, it goes in there. So there's a few ways that you can fix this. So, one, you can move the torch over here or something. That would work. Alternatively, you could put down some explicit air. Or lastly, you could put down another interior air marker. The net result should be the same regardless. Now, if I tried putting down another marker down here, we'd find that it would still flood out into the world, so I'll put these blocks in here. Okay, now I can put down this interior air marker here. And same for over here. So let's just finish this ruin off, I guess. I don't even know why I was doing that. So there's two chunks here. You can see the thing. So we're going to need one on this side and one on this side. We'll stick one of these down here for this one. And just for argument's sake, I'm just going to put these here. Oops. That was weird. And I think, yep. There we go. And there's a hole in the floor. Right. That's gotten rid of all of the red from out there. So at this point here, the ruins should be completely exportable. Like you could put your schematic markers down and export it, and yeah, so you would actually be able to flood this whole area with air and actually get exactly the same shape inside and out. So there's a few more things that I could do in this mod. Like I was thinking about adding some explicit exterior air. So that would allow you to basically say, all right, well, maybe if I spawn in a mountain, I'd like this little section here to actually have, perhaps this little section here will actually get some stone or whatever, if there was stone in the original terrain. This was something I wanted to show you as well, which is something to watch out for, is because there's a chunk boundary along this line here. So putting these blocks in here means that this area here doesn't actually receive any, it can't be implied as being air. You need to stick another of these down in here. So if you show the NEI lines, the chunk boundaries, you can see exactly why that occurred. So that's something you'll want to watch out for. It's just these little nooks and crannies. Here's another one. Put one down there. Sorry, and now we have an exportable thing. So there's a few more things that I may yet do. I'm tinkering with the idea of having these as being a connected texture so that you just see the outline along here. At least then this flickering that I'm seeing here probably wouldn't be quite so bad. So that's basically it. So this is Schematic Multi-Blocks. It's already on GitHub, and I'll be releasing a jar for this a bit later for doing your work. And the next video log that you'll probably see from me will probably be, I'll have Steam and Steel, Schematica, Meta-Blocks, and Chunk Explorer all loaded in together. And I'll probably do some work on some ruins, perhaps. We'll see how we go. And we'll see how it looks in practice, like when you're actually doing it, and what happens when you try loading it into an area. So yeah, and just for the lols before I go, I can flood this. This is what it looks like when you flood a cavern with it. Just because I can. And there we go. I actually do like the look of this. It kind of feels a bit Tron or something. Makes me feel like I'm actually playing a video game for some reason. Alright, and with that, I'll leave you guys with it. Have a good evening. Bye.